Welcome, and thank you for coming. Impossible. That's right. It's impossible for me to pinpoint one single experience in my life that has shaped my whole identity. My coming of age story is not based on a single lesson learned or a tragedy endured. Instead, it's a mixed bag of small and big occurrences that have taken me through the inevitable process of innocent child to productive adult. From a young age, up until now, I can remember experiencing these special moments. Like when my family moved from one country to another, or when I went away to college, and also when I married and became a mother. Through the years, I have mentally recorded these bits in time as a reference, a way to look back and recall the lessons, the challenges, and the triumphs. At the age of 8 years old, my family and I were packing up our home and moving nearly 3,000 miles south back to Columbia. I was leaving the only home I had ever known, neighborhood friends, school classmates, everything. My parents explained that this would be a positive transition. It was an opportunity to reconnect with our grandparents and our cousins, learn how to speak Spanish fluently, and also to fully embrace the culture from where we came from. My siblings and I weren't very convinced. But fast forward several months later, and I survived. My parents had bought a new home, and all of our familiar belongings had arrived. And although my school was huge, and learning how to speak Spanish was a challenge, I found my way around campus, and I even mastered rolling my R's. Meeting family for the first time and having big Sunday dinners was great. We would go on weekend road trips to the family farm. I milked cows. I even had to take showers in freezing cold water. I was still very young then, and maybe didn't really appreciate the lessons being taught or the challenges I had overcome. But looking back, when things were tough, I would go back to those moments, and I would remember how nervous I was and how apprehensive, but I would also remember how brave. I learned I am capable. When I was 17 years old, I was moving once again. This time, it was from my family home into my college dorm. I think many of us consider this transition a major coming-of-age moment. It was for me. I was raised as the youngest child in a strict Latin family. This new adventure meant freedom. Inevitably, my college years were a period of personal and social growth. I had to keep track of how often I went out, how late, and with whom. I also had to adjust to things like my roommates' bathroom rituals. Through it all, college taught me how to prioritize, be more open-minded and accepting. The college adventure also meant serious responsibility and accountability. I remember opening up my very first bank account and receiving an ATM card. This small but empowering experience led to lessons in personal finance and proved instrumental later in life. I also had to buckle down and figure out what I was going to do with my life in terms of a career. This one decision can jolt you from adolescence to adulthood faster than any other. I made some sound decisions, but I also made some bad ones. I learned that I am responsible. Now, what I experienced at 25 years old and a couple years later at 27 are probably my most profound coming-of-age moments yet. During those years, I got married and became a mother. This period of time drastically changed the way I was living my life and how I perceived things. Up until that point, I was basically on autopilot. I had graduated from college, I had a decent job, I was living at home, I had a great boyfriend. It was a time of travel, endless fun with friends, careless spending, and me time. Once I got married, I had to consider my husband's needs and wants. It was no longer just me making decisions like where to live, or what kind of car to drive, or even what kind of pet to have. It's a commitment like no other, but one that can be very fulfilling with a loving partner. Then came motherhood. The moment I held my newborn babies for the first time, I realized one of my true purposes in life. I was devoted to these human beings and my little family in ways I could not imagine. I had to embrace all the challenges, like the sleepless nights and the projectile vomiting, but I also had to acknowledge the milestones and the birthdays as huge accomplishments because this meant that the children were thriving. I have made them a priority and hope that in doing so, they will become good, capable, kind, responsible, smart, and generous members of society. During this time, I learned that I am giving. Now, one of my latest experiences in coming of age is the realization that in order for me to continue to be a better person and a good role model for my children, I have to continue to grow myself. For the majority of this time, I had been blessed with being able to spend many years at home with my children. But I always knew that eventually I would go back to work full time. So recently, I decided to go back to school and earn a second degree in order to further my education and enhance my possibilities. Collectively, all of my life lessons, the challenges and the triumphs, influenced who I am today. And because new experiences continue to evolve, I am looking forward to how they will shape me in the future going forward. Thank you.
Chinkwi. That was awesome, right? I thought it was going to be like about a butterfly or something. Oh.
You're still here.
Yeah.